Imagine waking up one morning to find out your job, your business, or your town's entire economy is under threat, not because of a natural disaster, but because of a new tariff decision made across the border. That's what many Canadians, and even some Americans, are facing right now as the U.S. government imposes sweeping new tariffs on Canadian goods. From copper to cars, lumber to aluminum, the economic shockwaves are already being felt across both countries. But how did we get here? Why is the U.S. targeting its closest trading partner? And more importantly, what could this mean for industries, jobs, and the future of North American trade? Stick around, because what's unfolding isn't just about trade. It's about trust, power, and the future of our economies. If you find topics like this important and eye-opening, take a second now to like this video and share it with someone who cares about what's happening in our world. It really helps the channel grow. The U.S.-Canada trade relationship has been one of the most stable and integrated in the world, but that balance is now being shaken. It started with tariffs on Canadian copper, one of Canada's most valuable exports and a key material in electronics, construction, and manufacturing. The U.S. government, citing national security under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, slapped on the tariffs. But most experts, even inside the U.S., question that reasoning when it comes to a peaceful ally like Canada. And copper is just the beginning. Steel, aluminum, softwood lumber, and even finished vehicles are all being targeted. The goal? To pressure companies to bring production back to the U.S. and reduce dependency on foreign materials, even from allies. These aggressive actions are being called Liberation Day tariffs in Washington. At first, Canada tried diplomacy, waiting for talks, avoiding escalation. But when it became clear these tariffs weren't going away, the gloves came off. Canadian officials, especially in key industrial provinces like Quebec and Ontario, began rallying with industry leaders and unions. Major mining companies like Glencore and Teck Resources were brought to the table, and the message was clear. If no resolution is reached by July 21st, Canada is prepared to strike back, with tariffs of its own on U.S. steel and other critical goods. This isn't just about policy, it's about protecting jobs, industries, and national dignity. For Canada, the tariffs are more than just an inconvenience. They're a direct attack on thousands of workers and entire towns that depend on exports to the U.S. Copper exports alone support entire communities, and even provinces more focused on Asian markets are feeling the pain because global supply chains are so interconnected. Investors are spooked, companies are freezing expansion plans, and uncertainty is now the rule, not the exception. While these tariffs are meant to protect American jobs, they're having unintended consequences. Many U.S. businesses, especially small and mid-sized ones, can't just switch suppliers overnight. Some tried to stockpile before the tariffs hit, but most didn't have the means. The result? Prices are soaring. Aluminum jumped over 60% in just 2 months. Coca-Cola is considering plastic bottles just to dodge the cost. And the average price of a new car in the U.S.? It's pushing $50,000, with projections of another $6,000 increase due to parts and vehicle tariffs. Even the housing market is feeling it. Construction materials like Canadian steel, aluminum, and lumber are all more expensive. Building a new home now costs about $22,000 more, putting dreams out of reach for many families. Quick question, what's your take on these tariffs? Are they protecting jobs, or doing more harm than good? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Few industries show the depth of U.S.-Canada integration like the auto sector. Parts routinely cross the border multiple times before a car is finished. A single piston might be mined in Quebec, processed in Detroit, installed in Ontario, and sold in Arizona. This delicate balance has worked for decades, thanks to trade agreements like the Auto Pact, NAFTA, and now USMCA. But that balance is collapsing. A 25% tariff on Canadian vehicles and 50% on steel has forced automakers to rethink everything. Ford and Stellantis are pausing Ontario operations, GM is moving truck production out of Canada entirely. U.S. automakers are losing money. Stellantis alone reported $5 billion in losses in just one quarter. And as jobs leave Canada, they're not all coming back to the U.S. Some are going to Mexico. Some are just disappearing. Canada isn't sitting idle. It's diversifying fast. Companies like Schneider Electric are expanding operations inside Canada to avoid U.S. exposure. Exports to countries like India and Germany are hitting record highs. The goal? Reduce dependence on a partner that's become unpredictable. And Canada has cards to play. Ontario floated the idea of adding a 25% surcharge on electricity exports to the U.S., a move that could hit American factories and homes hard. Canada also supplies the U.S. with vital infrastructure materials like chlorine, aluminum, and lumber. If Canada pulls back, American industries will scramble to find replacements, slower, pricier, and riskier. This isn't just about charts and trade data. It's about families. Take Curtis Dion, a small business owner in New Brunswick. His glass-making company used to rely on U.S. buyers for 10% of its sales. Today, that number is zero. His story is just one of thousands. And it's not just Canadians feeling the heat. In the U.S., consumers are paying more at the store. Builders are cutting jobs. Small manufacturers are being squeezed out of existence because they can't afford these tariffs. Big promises were made about bringing manufacturing back, but new aluminum plants take years to build. Sawmills can't scale up overnight. In the meantime, it's regular people who pay the price, literally. Beneath all the trade talk is something deeper: trust. For decades, the U.S. Canada relationship was defined by mutual respect and shared prosperity. But the surprise imposition of tariffs has shaken that foundation. For Canada, this is a wake-up call. If your closest ally can suddenly turn protectionist, who can you really depend on? Just the threat of tariffs has frozen investments and disrupted supply chains. With the July 21st retaliation deadline looming, the risk of full-scale trade war grows by the day. And if that happens, the entire North American economy could take a hit that lasts for years. Both sides have hard choices to make. The U.S. must weigh the short-term political gain of America first against the long-term costs of unraveling decades of cooperation. Canada must continue diversifying, strengthening its economy, and standing firm when necessary. Diplomacy is still the best way forward, but it takes two to tango. The world is watching, and what happens next will shape the future of global trade, not just for North America, but for every country wondering whether cooperation still works in a fractured world. If you've made it this far, thank you for being the kind of viewer who values real, nuanced stories. If you learned something today, please hit like, tap subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive like this one. We've got more coming on global trade, economics, and the power shifts shaping tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.